Hello and welcome back to another video. So, this one's gonna be a biggie. So I am surrounded by games. They're all here. You're not able to see them. There's a lot. There's a lot of video games. But basically, what I'm going to be talking about is my favourite games for every single console I own, which is a lot. Oh, I forgot one. Clever. There we go. And I forgot. There it is. Now we have them all. Yeah, now we have them all. I forgot two. So, to start with, we'll just do the earliest, then we'll move into Xbox, PlayStation, Sega, and we'll end with Nintendo. So I guess I'll just start with one of my favourite PC games. So this is just blanketly PC across the board. Dungeon Keeper 2. I grew up with this. I grew up with this game. It's so much fun. It kind of inspired all those kind of spin-off clones, those dungeon management simulators, which is a very odd subgenre of video games that exist. You've got the Dungeon series, Dungeon Keeper 1 and 2, War for the Overworld, which is basically Dungeon Keeper 3. A lot of really solid titles, and Dungeon Keeper 2 has long been my absolute favourite in that series. Can't recommend it enough. Okay, so these are just the miscellaneous. These are just the miscellaneous ones, but there's also a hefty amount of Atari in here. So I guess I'll do another PC game, which is the Atari ST's version of Terrapod. I'm really bad at this game. I'm absolutely terrible at it, but I really enjoy it. It's from 1987. It's got some of my favourite artwork from one of my favourite artists, Roger Dean, and it's just surprisingly large amount of fun. I picked this up for a £5 from the London gaming market about, goodness, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Long bloody time ago. But yeah, £5, not bad. Solid game. It's difficult though. It's certainly very difficult. It's certainly a game that I need to put some more time into because I've only just got an Atari ST. Haven't played it nearly as much as I should have done. Same with the Polymega, but here we are. We'll show you my favourite Polymega games, but those haven't arrived yet because they've only just announced them. Okay, for the Vectrex, we've got Web Wars, specifically the High Score edition. But yeah, I picked up Web Wars a couple of years ago now, and I love it. It's similar to Tempest. In fact, I could see Tempest playing very well on the Vectrex. I don't know if anybody's bothered to port it to that system, but Web Wars is actually a surprising amount of fun. I've enjoyed Tempest 2000 on and off throughout the years. If I still had my Jaguar, that would be my favourite game on there, but I don't. I got rid of it, which, I don't know, I kind of regret doing. Maybe I'll pick up another one. We'll see. 7800 is Joust, specifically the 7800 version of Joust. You're a dude on a flying ostrich with a spear, trying to kill other people on flying ostriches with spears. I mean, what's not to love? I think on the Atari VCS, which actually, while I'm thinking about it, that is a system that has games on it that I love. While we're talking about this one, this has a version of Joust on it called Avian Knights, which isn't Joust, but it's in a similar vein. However, my favourite game on this system has to be Food Fight, or Food Fight Culinary Combat, because it's a Splatoon clone, which is very fitting, but also very weird. It's a lot of fun, though. I heartily recommend. Finishing up the Atari, Adventure on the 2600. It's adventure. It's the first action-adventure game in existence, and it's part of the bloody name. It's literally, like, action-adventure isn't called adventure for no reason. It's named after this, and it's a lot of fun. There's just something entertaining and engaging about running around a map as a little cube with a knife. Oh dear. Okay, I think I've got two more. I've got two more miscellaneous consoles that don't have any real historical connections to anything, and that is the PC Engine, which is Bomberman. It's Bomberman. What more do I need to say? It might also be because I've only got 4 games for that thing, because I only have a Polymaker to play it on. So, yeah, but Bomberman's, of the games I've actually played on there, Bomberman's my favourite. It's not a huge collection, to be fair. I mean, the only other games I have are a Namco racing game, Digital Champ, and Breakin', and that's it. I've only got some bloody sports titles for the sodding thing, because I needed them in for the review. Finishing off, 3DO. It can be anything but Star Control 2. I love this game. I love it. I'm terrible at it. It's another one of those games where I absolutely adore it, but I am shockingly bad. This is a space exploration / RPG / Starship Combat sort of game. Most versions of Star Control 2, or indeed, what they call it now, Free Stars on Steam, are all based off the 3DO port. Because it's a very robust version, to be fair. It's a very robust version. This was actually my first game I got for the 3DO, and it was the one I got a 3DO for. I was looking around and I was like, you know what? I've seen a lot of Star Control, and it looks really good. So I figured I'd pick it up and kind of go from there. Okay, Xbox. So I will preface this with this list of my favourite games per system I own. None of them are my favourite games. None of them are my favourite games of all time, because my love for those games typically transcends the console or the platform. So, for example, I could just sit here and go, Brutal Legend is my favourite 360 game, and PS3, and Steam release. I could say all of that, and it would be true. Or I could say Triangle Strategy is my favourite Switch game. Along with Dust and Elysian Tale, which is also on PS3 and Xbox 360. Because a lot of those games, my top 10, are on so many systems, I decided, let's just whittle it down to games that I love on these specific systems for these specific systems. So yeah. So for Xbox, the original Xbox, what could it be? Halo 2? Halo 1? No. It's Advent Rising. And I know. Advent Rising. Why this? I'm going to be honest with you. This is one of those games where I wish there had been more of it. Like, I wish this had kicked off. I wish this had been ported to the 360 and it had been a stellar launch title that had sold through the nose, and Majesco had gone, brilliant, we made shitloads of money, we'll make a second and a third one, and we'll finish the trilogy, even though it's written by a dickhead. Well, the overall story is written by a dickhead, the general story isn't. But we'll talk less about Orson Scott Card another time, because he's a wang. He's a wang doodle. But Advent Rising, why this? Simple fact of the matter is, I love the art style, I love the gameplay, I think the story is actually very compelling. The backstory in particular is very compelling. This idea that humanity was this ancient alien race that is embodied and embedded in the mythology of basically every race in the galaxy, and they've seemingly disappeared overnight, except there's a race called Seekers who are seeking them out and killing them, because they stand in the way of what their masters stand for, which is awesome. And it's very cool. And yeah, it's just such a shame the game was, well, glitchy and shit on PC. So, and it released in the final year of the Xbox's lifespan, so wasn't going to be happening, unfortunately. You'll find that with a lot of these. Yeah, you'll find that with a lot of these games. They're just games that most people don't like, and I do. Speaking of, Universe at War for the Xbox 360. And I know, we had Gears of War, we had Halo 3 ODST, Halo 3, Halo Reach, Halo 4, Halo Wars. We had Quake 4, Lost Planet 1 and 2, Assassin's Creed, Bioshock. And I picked Universe at War. Why? Very simple. I really like strategy games. I really like strategy games, and it was genuinely a toss-up between this and Red Alert 3. But what I ultimately came down to was, in Red Alert 3, I only play as Empire of the Rising Sun, and that was it. That was all I played as, all the time, with a bunch of my friends on the 360, and I was kind of at a point where I was like, yeah, I mean, there are other games, so I started playing this with a couple of my friends, and I'd been playing this for a few years before then, and it's just really fun. It's by the same guys who made Empire at War, Star Wars, on PC. And I played a bit of that, and it was really good. And then I found out they were making this. It's published by Sega, and you know what? It's really good. I love Petroglyph. I love most of what they've done. I think the only thing I haven't enjoyed what they've done is when they've branched out from RTSs. But hopefully they're doing well, especially seeing as those guys are behind the remake of Command & Conquer 1 and 2? Might have just been 1 and Red Alert, actually. But, yeah. Okay, the final Xbox console that I own anything for, and I'm going to be honest with you, this was a tough one, especially considering how much I dislike that system, as any of you found out a couple of weeks ago, who watched that. If you haven't, go see my Xbox One sucks video, because it does. Halo 5. Yeah, I know. I mean, Halo 5 has probably the worst story outside of Infinite. Infinite's story was unfinished and just boring. But I think Halo 5 had an excellent campaign. I think it's got very solid gameplay. I've heard its multiplayer is very good as well. It has one of the best multiplayers on the Xbox One, which is, not difficult. But, yeah. And it's Halo. It's Halo. Even if people are like, ooh, he plays Locke. And I'm like, yes, but conveniently they killed him off in the second game. So, in the game after this, I'm not complaining too much. That being said, for me, that was kind of the last Halo game I tangentially enjoyed. I mean, if Halo 4 had been on the Xbox One, I'd have gone, yeah, Halo 4, easy. Best story, excellent, blah, blah, blah. But no, that was not the case. So yeah, Halo 5 instead won out, and I only really picked it because Master Chief Collection would be cheating, and I haven't played enough of Halo Wars 2 to be able to say, yeah, that one. Gears 5, again, I haven't finished, and Halo Infinite is, again, the worst Halo game I've played. Outside of its multiplayer, it's kind of a Reach situation where I was like, yeah, its campaign is shit. Its campaign is hot, steaming fucking garbage in massive chunks of it. And unlike Reach, I've forgotten half the bloody levels in Infinite. But with Halo 5, yeah, I remember every level. I remember how dumb the story is. I remember it. I don't forget it. So, yeah, it's the best of a bad pile. Moving on. PS1 or PlayStation. It's Disruptor by well, it might not have been Insomniac. No, it was Insomniac. Insomniac's first game was a first-person shooter where you have superpowers, which is crazy. And it kind of continued that tradition of it kind of kick-started their tradition of having a lot of very crazy weaponry, a lot of really fucking weird levels before they started getting into things like Ratchet and Clank and Sunset Overdrive, which less said about that, the better. Yeah, I think Disrupt. Honestly, it was no pick, and I've got quite a few PS1 games, and it was no pick at all. Absolutely none. A lot of these were no pick. It was just plain bog standard, piss easy. To figure out what my favourite game on that system was. Speaking of for PS2, this is a game nobody would see coming. Giants Citizen Kabuto. Now I know, there's Ratchet and Clank, there's Jak and Daxter, there's a lot of shit on the PS2. It's got an absolutely mammoth library. Bomberman Kart. Earache Extreme Metal Racing, which I am saving for a heavy metal video game video. But Giant Citizens Kabuto is a fucking weird game that ticks all the right boxes of being fucking weird and just genuinely having some of the weirdest. It's weird. It's weird, but it's a lot of fun. It's that kind of early 2000s period where nothing made sense. Everything was new, fresh ground. You play as like one of 4 different races, including a lady with no shirt on, who is a sea witch, a giant monster that can birth its own son and then eat them, and a bunch of Cockney aliens with guns and jetpacks. So, yeah. Yeah, easily. Love it. One of my favourite fucking games on the PS. If not my... It is my favourite. That's the point of the video. Okay. Next up. We have Deadhead Fred for the PS2. For the PSP. Yeah, it's a kind of action brawler where you play as a guy whose brain is in a jar and you can switch your heads out and they give you different powers. It's basically Dynamite Heady, except it's gritty, slightly inspired by Voodoo, and it's really weird. So, yeah, I couldn't say no. It's just such a solid game. Yeah, I enjoy a lot. That's going to be the case for the next playthrough, for all of the games. Every single one is going to be one that people go, really? Really? Out of all the games on the system, that one? Which is very much the case for Pain on the PS3. It's a game where you slingshot people across a city and try to cause them as much physical damage as possible. And it's hilarious. It's so bloody fucking stupid, and I can't get enough of it. It's just legitimately just out there. It's so strange. It's not a game you'd get nowadays. It really isn't. It's not a game about... You wouldn't get games about causing people pain. I saw this... a CEX opened up in my hometown for the first time a good number of years ago. And I walked in and I was like, oh, they've got loads of stuff. Because they would, because they want to entice people to buy shit. And this was the first thing I bought. Because I was like, I've been looking for that game for years. I've actually been on a bit of a PS3 buying spree recently. I got Ratchet & Clank Nexus the other day. I picked up Heavy Rain again, which I'm getting rid of because I've got 2. But it gave me the right there, got the little origami thing. But yeah, I've picked up quite a lot of it. But this remains my favourite game on the platform because it's just so ridiculous. Hypothetically, this one shouldn't be on here, but it's basically the only game I play on the PSP anymore. So, oh well. It's my list. I can do what I like. And that is Octodad. Dadliest Catch. I love this game. I love the fact that I can play it on the go. I love the fact that out of all the games I have on the PSP, from Tearaway to Bastion to loads of other stuff, I went, yeah, Octodad, favourite game. He plays an octopus. Maybe. Or he's a normal guy in a suit. One of the two. I've even got the tie. So, yeah, it couldn't be anything but Octodad for that system because Lordy Lou. It's just so insanely stupid. Okay, slightly more contemporary game for the PS4. Now, I will freely admit I wasn't a huge fan of a lot of the PS4's exclusives. I thought a lot of them were very boring. I haven't actually really got any left outside of Killzone. There was one Ratchet & Clank game for it. One in a decade. And it was a remake of the first one that was worse. So, I went Fallout 4. Yeah, I love Fallout 4. I absolutely do. And ooh, this one has this. That's nice. Does it have the season pass? No, it's just got an advert for the season pass and a bit of the condensed version of the Vault Dwellers Guide. So, yeah, solid game. I bought this years ago for like a £5, and it's totally worth it. It's a lot of fun. And I know there's people out there who go, oh, Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas is the best one in the series. Those I've got rid of both of them because they're unplayable. They are miserable, shitty, badly designed, terribly programmed games in terms of their combat. Their stories could be the most amazing in the universe, but they are so unplayable nowadays. And bearing in mind, I came into Fallout 4 much the same way I came into the Elder Scrolls. I came into the Elder Scrolls with Skyrim. I didn't come into it with Morrowind. I didn't come into it with Oblivion. I know there are purists out there who are all very focused on, this game is the best one, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? They can suck eggs, because Fallout is a game where you pick a direction and you get walking, and that's the best part of it. It is. I think all the factions are actually fine. The Minutemen suck, and they're boring. And the Railroad are equally as boring, and I find it very hard not to blow up either the Institute or the Brotherhood upon first meeting them. But in general, I go back to this way more than I go back to, I don't know, Skyrim. I go back to Fallout 4 infinitely more, because there's more to it, even in its open world. I think that, yes, Skyrim is denser in terms of content, if you want to really look at it like that. But in terms of a game that's perfect for roaming around and depicting apocalyptic wasteland, it's Fallout 4. That brings us to the final system. Now, I would have picked Forgotten City, and then I went, nah, it's on my top 10. So I had to pick the next best thing, which was RoboCop, Rogue City. This game came out last year. It was amazing. It was easily one of my favourite games of last year. It's just so bloody good. Now, bearing in mind, I have picked up a lot of PS5 games recently. I picked up Unknown 9, Space Marine, System Shock, a lot of stuff. Pacific Drive, Stellar Blade, and Nightmare Reaper. And those are all current. They've all been uploaded onto my PS5 today with the intention of playing them. But I think for now, the ability to play as RoboCop, still voiced by the same guy, I believe. Yeah. Still voiced by the same guy. A lot of brilliant homages. Excellent storytelling, quite frankly. And just in general being a lot of fun. I couldn't say no. You know what? I've forgotten one. But I think it's fine. So I did. I was going to pick something for the Game Gear, but I've never actually played a Game Gear game. My Game Gear is broken, which is great when you're trying to play the fucking thing. So as a result, it's currently sat in my pile of consoles to get fixed, along with a GameCube, an N64, a Saturn, and an Atari Lynx that I've owned for a while, that doesn't work, which is great. Very helpful. So I'm going to skip the Game Gear, if you'll pardon me, and I'll get right into the better stuff. Starting with the Master System, perhaps. The Mega Master System. Wonder Boy. Yeah, it's a very simple game. It's basically just go sideways and hit things with axes and skateboards, all in an attempt to rescue your girlfriend from the vicious king. Very of its time story, but a lot of fun, very engaging. Probably one of my favourites in general from that generation. I'm not a huge lover of 8-bit, and I'm not a huge lover of 4-bit unless it's Atari, but yeah, I think Wonder Boy's one of the better ones. Yeah, so I know I shouldn't have picked this one for the Mega Drive, because at the end of the day, it's not just a Mega Drive game, but it is also one of my absolute favourites, and that is Rampart. Now, if I owned Rampart for the Atari ST, like I'm planning to, then this wouldn't be here. It would not be on a Sega system. It would be over there, and I'd be like, yep, Rampart, Atari ST, done, suck eggs. Rampart here, though? Yeah, I mean, it's one of my favourite arcade games. It's one of my favourite games, period, that I'm, again, excruciatingly bad at. I'm very, very bad at it, but it is very, very engaging. It's basically a combination of a, not turret defense, but kind of like, it's kind of like Death Tank combined with Tetris. So, you've got, castles you take over, you build them up using Tetris pieces, and then you shoot, and then you place cannons in the areas of the castle you create, and then you fire and blow up other people's walls. They in turn do the same to you, and then you have to repair your base, and it's just very frantic and very engaging. Unfortunately, it's not a game that I've been able to play too much of. I want to. I want to play more of it because it's very fun. But yeah, it's better in multiplayer. Single player isn't as good because it's just defending against pirate ships, which is a bit dull. But we'll move on. So, I'm talking about the Tower of Power, specifically the Mega CD. So, I picked up a Mega CD for one very specific purpose. Very similarly to how I picked up a 3DO for Star Control 2, I picked up a Sega CD for Dune. Now, Dune is an interactive novel, relationship simulator, strategy game thing. It's weird. It's basically undefinable. It's very, very strange, and that's a huge part of why I love it. It's just one of those games where you look at it and go, what the fuck? Like, I've got Dune 2, on the Mega Drive, and that was the original RTS. I was like, hang on, it's Dune 2. What's the first one? This. And it's fucking weird. So I was all over it. I grabbed this like nobody's business. The sprite work's very nice. It's just bizarre, but I think it's amazing. But that's not all. That's not all on the Mega Drive. There is one other thing, which is the 32X. Now, I own a good number of repro games. I own about four repro games for that thing, and I own a good number of actual games. But the major one that I found, I just go back to every single time, is this repro version of Blackthorn. Blackthorn is excellent. It's really, really good. It's insane how fucking fun a cinematic platformer, a cover-based cinematic platformer is. I mean, you're hiding around corners and then you pop out and just blast an alien away with a shotgun, or you throw a grenade to try and get it under over his cover and it just explodes in his face. And it's very slow and methodical, but it's really fucking engaging. Like, it's insane how much I fucking love this. I want an actual copy, but it's very, very, very expensive. I will get an actual copy of Blackthorn eventually. It's on my list. I haven't bought too many 32X games recently, just because they're so fucking expensive. But yeah. Okay. Now we get to my favourite Sega console. Can you tell what it is by the 3.5 shelves of shit that I've got for it? Yes, it's the Saturn. Magic Knight Rayearth. I love Magic Knight Rayearth. I think it's one of the best action RPGs I have ever played. And that's not a genre I enjoy. At all. It just isn't. It's just not a genre I enjoy in the slightest. But Magic Knight Rayearth has kind of convinced me. It's based on an anime of the same name. And this particular version was released by Working Designs. Now, Working Designs were known for grabbing a bunch of Japanese games and bringing them over to America, doing very good ports and dub jobs on them, and just generally very high quality stuff. Then they went under. Now, this was the last game released for the Sega Saturn in America. It wasn't the last one in Japan. I think that was in the year 2000. But the fact that it lasted that long, it lasted like 6 or 7 years, which is longer than the Dreamcast did. But we'll get to that. Yeah, I mean, I asked a friend of mine picked me that up. I gave them the money, obviously, but they grabbed that for me in America and brought it back over, which was nice of them. But yeah, solid game, very solid. Most of these are repros. Well, no, not repros. Sorry, most of these are American copies, including my Dreamcast game of all the time, which naturally couldn't involve Sonic Adventure 2. Because, quite frankly, it would have. And it was a toss-up between this and Spawn in the Demon's Hand, of all things. Because I really, really like that game. It's a lot of fun. It's fucking hard, though, and I've only really played it once. By contrast, I constantly come back to Alien Front Online. This game is amazing. It's genuinely so much fun. It's very engaging. You play as either the army or you play as the aliens, which I think are called Triclops, the Triclops Guard. And you just stomp around maps, blowing the shit out of each other. It's very, very arcadey. In fact, it was an arcade game just called Alien Front, but they added in, they ported it to the Dreamcast, added in real-time voice chat via the microphone, and just, yeah, it's all about online. It's an all-about online game, but you know what? It's actually a hell of a lot of fun. 4v4 network play. I think if I get my Dreamcast up and running, this will online specifically, this will be one of the major things that I get on there to play. I think the other ones will probably be, I don't know if I still have Star Lancer. I might have got rid of that. If I haven't got rid of that, I should get rid of it because it's shit. But yeah, so that's the Sega stuff, PlayStation stuff, Xbox stuff, miscellaneous stuff. Now the meat. Now the meat. It's the Nintendo stuff, and there's a lot of it. So we'll just kind of go in chronological order. I haven't included Game Boy, because I haven't got many. I suppose it would be, I don't know, Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland for the Game Boy Advance, and that's about it. That and Yu-Gi-Oh! Stairway to the Destined Duel are basically the only games I've kept for that particular system, just because I like them. And I suppose Pokemon Silver, but However, we start with the NES, and it is obviously Clash at Demon Head. I shouldn't like this game just strictly based on its name, but I do. It is strictly based on its name. It's named after the this is what the band in Scott Pilgrim is named after, Envy Adams' band, and I went looking, and I found this, and I was just going to get a copy from my friend for Christmas. They didn't arrive in time, so I was like, oh, for crying out loud, I'm going to have to get a refund. So I got a refund. This still arrived, and I went, I've already got him something else, though. Never mind, this is mine now. I did get him a copy for his birthday the following year, so it's not too bad. But yeah, Clash of Demon Head is a really fun side-scrolling platformer. It's just genuinely very engaging. It's, yeah, honestly. That circuit board is, like, new. Little rattle, though. So, it's always alarming when you play games of this age, but the case is like this. It's like this big. It's tiny. Like the actual cartridge is that, all of that is empty space. If you didn't know that, that was to prevent theft, I think, or something like that, or thievery, or same bloody thing, isn't it? But yeah, moving on. Moving on to the SNES. This one was also hard. This one was very difficult. It was a toss-up between Starwing, or Star Fox 2, F-Zero, or Actraiser. And ultimately, it came down to Actraiser. This is the reason I got very heavily into retro gaming. Now, back in the day, back in the aether of eons past, I had a magazine for, I think, the official Nintendo magazine. I had a copy of the official Nintendo magazine, and they talked about Actraiser. And they were like, yeah, it's a game where you basically play as a god, and then you come down and you fight stuff with a sword to help out your villagers and build up their towns and shit. I was like, I need that. I need that. And for years, this was on my list. This was on my list of ones to buy. I was like, I'm going to get Actraiser this year. I'm going to get it. Never did. A friend of mine finally picked it up for me for Christmas, and you know what? Thank you to him. I then found out that Actraiser had a sort of sequel. I haven't got Actraiser 2 yet. It's on my list. And Square Enix, I think a couple years ago, released Actraiser Renaissance, which I've been playing the shit out of this year, and it's one of my favourite games of the year so far. It's currently in my top 5, which is pretty insane. I typically, my top 5 of any given year is games I bought this year. Not games that released this year. Games I bought this year and I played for the first time. It can't be, and they can't typically be re-releases, or it's cheating. Because it could be like, oh yeah, we released Triangle Strategy on the PS5, and I'll be like, cool, I bought it, and I beat the whole thing again, but at the same time, that was my game of the year 2 years ago. Irrelevant. I hope they do release it on PS5, though. I buy it. especially if it had the epilogue all on board. Yes, please. Weave that into the main game. Moving on, what came first? I think it was you. The Virtual Boy. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, but my favourite game on that system is Delirium Boxer. I've been playing a little bit more of it, and it is out there, but it's engaging. I'm still shit at it, but it's actually quite a lot of fun. I love the artwork, just of whoever that character is. I need to find out. But yeah, maybe he'll be a channel mascot if I can get someone to build a little replica of him on Etsy or something. But yeah, Delirium Boxer. It's a boxing game like Punch Out, except the way you control the controller is kind of like this. So it's like you control each hand. It's not just a case of duck weave. It's a case of hit them high, hit them low, and each side of the controller corresponds to each fist, which is cool. And I think if Nintendo were to do a VR system nowadays, which I don't think they would, unless they were going to go with the Switch 2, and they went, yeah, we've got a headset, you just plug it in the front, got the Joy-Cons, where you go. We've remade Delirium Boxer, done, sold. I'll buy Delirium Boxer again, I'm not kidding. But yeah, love that game, absolutely adore it. The last of the cartridges, unless you count, obviously, DS games. But Turok 3 for the N64. Yeah, I know. There was Lilac Wars, there was Perfect Dark, there was Glover, there was Pokemon Stadium 2 for the longest time was one of my favourites. Conker was very close to getting on here, but I think he was bouncing with the Xbox original as well before he lost out on both accounts. Turok 3, though, I've been playing a lot of the remake. I really like it. It's lacking something from this. Now, this game is a technological powerhouse. Very primitive, but very advanced skeletons for the facial animation in particular is insane. You would never see, like, moving mouths on a lot of the game, on a lot of the early N64 games. Even on PlayStation 1 and Dreamcast, you still had... They just talked like... either like that, or they had just completely static faces, or their faces were switched out with different textures or something. This, they move. It's also a very robust shooter. It's got an excellent multiplayer. It's everything that Turok 2 had in a campaign, and Turok Rage Wars had in a multiplayer, and it mushed it together into just a very fantastic, fucking good game. But the only downside I have with the remake is it has no multiplayer, and that sucks. Hear me, Night Dive. Moving on. Alright, that's in the same thing. Okay. The GameCube, one of my favourite systems. Sonic Adventure 2, Wario World, Star Fox Assault. 3 of my favourite games of all time, even. But the game that beat them out, the game that beat out Doshin, the game that beat out other games that people really like, I don't know, Wind Waker, all of that shit, is Geist. It's Geist. And a big part of that is, it's weird and unique. And that's the overall arching theme for the bulk of this, is it's weird and it's unique. It's a game where you play as a ghost, spooking your way through an underground military facility focused on research into the supernatural, taking people over after scaring the ever-loving shit out of them. You can play as dog food. You can play as a can of dog food. It's super weird, but it's really engaging. It's a lot of fun. But its biggest thing is its multiplayer. So we had a friend of mine over a couple months ago. And, you know, naturally, when we've got a friend of mine over, drag out the GameCube, or we drag out the original Xbox, or we drag out the Switch, or even on the odd occasion the Wii U. And then I went, hey, let's try playing Geist's multiplayer. I don't think we've ever had more fun in a multiplayer in a long time. I know, like, I've forced my wife to play Halo 2 against me, my friend and her versus me specifically, and I beat them both very handily, because I've been playing that game for 20 plus years. Yeah, I've been playing that game for 2 decades. I know it pretty well. Not entirely. and I'm not an expert, but I am still better than they would be. But Geist is a game that I'm not great at. It's very limited in its sort of shooting, but it's got a bunch of multiplayer games and modes that are just really, really, really engaging. And there's the fact that you can open them up in the game. The more you play through the game, the more maps you unlock, the more characters. I think you can unlock like different summons or different inhabitee doodad ghosty power things, and it's just great. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of a running theme. Often I'll be really attracted to the multiplayer or something over the main campaign. That's kind of the case for a couple of the games on here, but we'll get to those. A big one being Metroid Prime Hunters. I hate Metroid. I know. I hate Metroid. I hated 1. I hated 2. I haven't played 3. Prime, specifically. I played Other M. It's bad. I went in and tried Metroid Prime Remastered, hoping that they'd fixed the fucking camera. And I was bored. I was bored backtracking and going through all these different fucking areas that I couldn't then fucking get to. It was just very frustrating and just absolutely not. This game comes along and goes, hey, you're going to be going back to a lot of these places anyway, but we're going to mix it up by having a bunch of dudes stalking you throughout the entire thing. And we're going to add a very, very, very competent multiplayer mode that is basically Quake, which is awesome. Which is genuinely just so bloody cool. Touch me later. But yeah, I love this game. What the heck is this? Oh my god. It's even got a little Nintendo Club VIP thing. Yeah. I don't know what these points were for. I don't think it's like nowadays with with my Nintendo. Because then it was Club Nintendo. I think it was VIP, then it was Club. Now it's... Yeah, but I should have done Club. I had so many bloody Wii U games that had those codes. But yeah. I really liked this game. It's so much fun. Like, I went and bought it for like a tenner, and I've never had a game quite as worth it since. It's probably one of the few DS games I actually go back and play. I think the only other one is... maybe Might and Magic Clash of Heroes, but I got that on Switch recently, so I won't be playing the DS version again. Not really. And that's okay. Nope, that's not that one. So we go that one, then that one, then that one, then that one. Okay. The Wii! I hate the Wii. No, I don't hate the Wii, but I don't like the Wii. I don't like the Wii's motion controls. I think they're obtuse and annoying, and I think it's just... not a fun system to play 90% of the time, but I'll be damned if I don't love Battalion Wars 2. I love this game. It's so much fun. I really like the first one, but the second one had better controls in a strange way for something that I don't particularly appreciate using, which is motion controls. Battalion Wars 2 just had such an engaging campaign. It had a really engaging story. I wish I'd had the opportunity to play this online, because it doesn't have a local mode, which is kind of fucking lame. That being said, you can, I think, do basically System Link with it, so I might have a go at that. I would need a second Wii, but maybe in time. I suppose 3DS came out next. 3DS is a system I actually play a fair amount of a good chunk of the time. But my major reasons for doing so are Fire Emblem. I beat all of this year. I beat Conquest again. I beat Birthright. I beat Revelations. I think in terms of my favourites, it goes Conquest, Revelations, Birthright. Unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to play Heirs of Fate, which is the DLC. I didn't before the Wii U and the 3DS game shut down earlier this year, or was that last year? One of the two. Same with the 360. There were a couple of games on there that I didn't grab in time, but never mind. Fates, though. Fates is flat out my second favourite Fire Emblem game of all time. beating out 3 houses. Well, not beating out 3, only beaten out by 3 houses and 10,000% drowning engaged because that game was shit. But yeah, I mean, I spent £200 on this game, which is a lot of money. But it's strictly so I could have Revelations, Birthright, and Conquest all on the same cartridge. And you want the God's honest truth, I think that that was 100% worth it. It was 100% worth it for that limited edition. Was so worth the money. Because Revelations is really good. It's very engaging. It's very clearly the golden route, very similar to how Triangle Strategy has a golden route. Whilst Three Houses lacks that. But I think Conquest and Birthright are very good at building up your relationship, or more accurately, attachment to these characters. I knew while playing Birthright, I was like, I don't want to kill Xander, but I had to. I don't want to kill Elise, but I had to. Same with Conquest. In retrospect, I don't care that I killed Izumi because he's shit. But Ryuma, that sucks. It sucked killing Ryuma. It did. Because the dude has an electric sword and he's cool. But he's also kind of that laid-back big brother sort of thing, whilst Xander is the more uptight, stuck-up one. But at the same time, he's battling a whole host of other inner demons. And I think that cast is just so likeable. Specifically, the royal families, Azura and your lead in the form of what the fuck is that name? It's not Byleth, not Crom. Yeah, I can't remember. Cora, I think it's Cora. Cora, and just it's engaging in a way that Engage wasn't. Oh, so sue me. Moving on, last 2 games for this particular video. Wii U. So I picked up my last 2 Wii U games I was needing. Last 2. I picked up Twilight Princess, and I picked up, what the hell was it called? Wii Sports Club. That's it. I'm done collecting Wii U now. There's nothing on there that could interest me outside of maybe Darksiders, the original, but we'll see, because I'm not a huge Darksiders fan anymore. Of all the games, I was tossing and turning and umming and ahhing and going, what do I like the most? Is it Pokemon Tournament? Is it Bayonetta 2? Hypothetically, it should be. No, it's Hyrule Warriors. I love this game. I really, really love this game. It's so much fun. Like, I've sunk so much time into it. Like, I even went out specifically and I bought the 3DS version just so I could get the code to use on here to get the... Well, you don't need to see the code, but yeah, to get the bloody playable characters in there. And I know they're on Wii U now, but they're locked behind the adventure maps, which I've never cared for, so I can't play as some of my favourite characters, like I was about to say Great Fairy, but that's in Age of Calamity. That's something else. Yeah, I can't play as Tweely Midna, which sucks because I sunk a shitload of time into Tweely Midna. Yeah, I think that if you're gonna play Hyrule Warriors nowadays, play that version. But back in the day, I bought this new, and I never looked back. I think Hyrule Warriors is just flat out one of the best games on that system by a good fucking margin. Which brings us to the Switch, the final game console on this particular list. Now, I've got a lot of games on Switch. I've got Bayonetta 1, Bayonetta 2, Bayonetta 3. I've got Bayonetta Cereza and the Lost Demon. You know I don't care for Bayonetta 3. But, yeah. Splatoon 2 and 3, Air Twister. I've got Pikmin 1 and 2, Pikmin 3, Pikmin 4. I've got Pikmin 4, and I love Pikmin 4. But once again, it's one people wouldn't expect. Now, yes, hypothetically, it would have been either Triangle Strategy, or it would have been Fire Emblem Three Houses, or it would have been Dust. But it was a toss-up between this one and Unicorn Overlord, and I think what it ultimately boiled down to was I've had lots of fun with Unicorn Overlord, but I've only played it once. Now, I'll probably go back and do it again, because that game is amazing. And if Vanillaware ever do another fucking tactical RPG like that, I will be all over it. To the point where I'm probably going to pick up Grim Grimoire at some point as well. That's been on my list for quite some time. good number of years. It's ARMS. It's ARMS. I love this game so much. It's like I went out and picked up the Min Min amiibo, sorry, who is the girl with noodle hair. Right there she is. Noodle hair. Because she was introduced into Smash. She's one of the few Smash Ultimate characters I've actually bought. The only other ones being, I think, Piranha Plant. That's it. And I was debating on getting Steve, but I probably won't from Minecraft. I don't play Minecraft. But ARMS is amazing. It's a boxing game. Much like Tolero Boxer, each side of the controller controls a different arm, except your arms are out on springs. And I love it. It's so good. My wife gave me this copy. I did end up giving my original one away, if just strictly because they were a bit sad. So I thought, okay, you can have it. That's fine. I know you really want this, so it's very exciting. My wife picked this up for me again this month, just to kind of replace my original copy. And you know what? It's great. It's still good. I really love ARMS. I really genuinely love this game. It's so bloody fucking good. It's so much fun. That's it. That's a very long video. We're up to about 50 plus minutes now, which is a bit crazy. But yeah, that is every game that I love, my favourite game on every system that isn't in my top 10. And I know that's a very specific thing, but it had to be games that I didn't have and play on other systems. Like I've played Stubbs the Zombie on Xbox, Switch and PS1, 4. I've played Halo on Xbox Series X and on PC and on the original Xbox. I've played Sonic Adventure 2 on GameCube and Dreamcast and 360. Yeah, kind of it. That's kind of the point. They couldn't be games that I either have played on other systems and loved, or games that, whilst exclusive to those systems, if they came out on anything else, I'd buy them again. They had to be games that kind of embodied what I really love about each system in particular, and I think we've covered that pretty well. ARMS is a very good example. But yeah, that's it for another week. I'm not too sure what we'll do next week. We'll see, but I think I will give it a think. I'll give it a think, and I'll get back to you next week, hopefully with something exciting. But until then, thank you very much, and have a good day.